So I figured this was a smooth transition into our fantasy booking.
Exactly. So I'm pulling up my list here.
Yes, I have my list as well. I don't know if you want to. I don't know how you want to do this. If you want to do it where we just like you say your night one, I say my night one, or if we just
Yeah, we could do that first.
yeah. So you can say you can start first if you want to. You can do your night one, and
All
then
right.
I'll
Well,
do.
I kind of just booked it on. This is basically a booking on who is current in the roster right now. Maybe a few injury people that are injured. I put
Yeah,
on
I
there.
I, I included some that were injured. So
Right. So I can include Bianca Belair in my
yeah,
list.
I
And honestly,
included
it's
Bianca
not so much
Belair. I
different.
included Braun Breaker.
Yeah. Mine is so not so much different, but it's also just shaping it up where I feel like things kind of would make a little bit more sense. So my night one, I would start off combining the tag team championships from Raw and SmackDown and just call them the WWE Tag Team Champions. The Usos versus the MFTs versus the Lucha Bros, who are Penta and Rey Fenix, versus the Viking Raiders in a fatal four-way match for the WWE Tag Team Championships. Then I would have Jade Cargill versus Bianca for the WWE Women's Championship. I would have Logan Paul versus LA Knight in a street fight. I would have Io Sky versus Asuka, which could still possibly happen. I would
I
have
yeah.
Dom versus Ray in a career versus hair match. So if Ray were to lose, his career would be done. If Dom were to lose, bye bye to that sweet mullet. And then to cap off night one, WWE Championship, I would have Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns 3.
Ooh, solid, solid. I like that. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
So with mine, I didn't really separate it by night one and night two, but I kind of have a sense of like what I would have on night one and night two.
Okay. Yep.
So mine might be kind of like out there, but hey, it's fantasy booking.
Yep.
So I'll do my world title matches last. But I put you could use for night one. You could have it as the opener. Oba Femi versus Brock Lesnar versus Gunther
Wow.
in a triple
Yeah.
threat match. Get the three big men at it, and I feel like those three, if you put those three in a ring together, I feel like it'd be quite the sight to see. So I would have that be like your night one opener,
Mm-hmm.
or or yeah, I would have it probably be the opener because I feel like that will start hot. Um, and then I have Alexa Bliss versus Charlotte Flair and this is a face Alexa Bliss versus a heel Charlotte Flair. Then I have the Bellas versus Rio. So Rhea and Io versus the Irresistible Forces
Ooh.
versus the Kabuki Warriors versus
Okay.
Bayley and Lyra in
Oh
a
wow.
ladder match for the women's tag titles.
Okay.
Jade Cargill versus Bianca Belair for the WWE Women's title.
Think we can read on that.
Yeah. And then I add a little twist at the end. Naomi returns
Okay.
to make her claim, be like, "Hey, I never lost a title,"
Yeah.
and she's got history with both. So I included like Naomi returns. So that'd be, and then for more night one,
I like that.
I want to include some more title matches. So I try to split it up. And then also for night one, I have Carmelo Hayes versus Trick Willie for the U.S. title.
Okay. Okay. I kind
And
of had
then,
that too a little bit. Like if we wanted to add that tonight one, I had Sammy versus I forgot to put it in there. Sammy versus Mela versus Trick.
yeah, yeah, no, yeah, I feel like that's the direction it's headed.
Yeah.
Especially given the history. And I already know if it's whether it's a one-on-one or triple threat, I already know that match is gonna be a banger.
Right.
And then I have, let's see, and then I have the Usos versus Logan and Theory versus the Street Profits versus the New
Oh wow.
Day in a
Damn.
fatal four-way for the World Tag Titles.
That is jam packed, dude.
Ray versus Dom in career versus hair.
Yeah.
And then I have, because I want to include a women's title match, we have Tiffany Stratton versus Julia versus Kiana James versus
Yeah.
Chelsea Green for the women's U.S. title.
Wow. Wow. So you're including a lot of people here. You're
Yep.
including a lot of people, and I feel
Yeah.
like that's typically what WWE tries to do. They try to include as much people as possible. Under the Triple H era, a lot of people do get left out. A lot of people do get left out, and that's
Yeah.
kind of like what I'm banking on here.
Yeah.
Um,
And then, oh yeah, and then I got to say my main event for night one, CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship.
there you go. That's a good one. That's a really good one. My night two would be Stephanie Vaquer versus Rhea Ripley. I think you can bring like they're both very much like Stephanie is that Latina goth, you know. Rhea is that like evil dark goth. I think oh that'd be a sexy match.
Eh?
I uh Finn Balor versus Gunther.
Ah,
Ah, I think the European style or that what do they call it? Part not I forgot what kind of style they call it, but that European style would come out definitely. I think these two could have a banger.
what did you say? You said Finn versus Gunther?
Yeah,
Ooh,
I think it
that's
would be a hard
interesting.
hitting match.
That's it. Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot, actually.
Mm-hmm. I would have AJ Lee, Lyra Valkyria, and Bailey versus the Judgment Day women. Um, talking about Liv,
Yeah,
Roxanne, and
Roxanne,
yep, and Liv, Roxanne, and
Raquel.
Raquel. Yes. Um, Charlotte versus Becky in a one-on-one match,
Ooh, that's a
hitting off of some
classic.
personal. Yeah,
Yeah. And hey, the last one-on-one match they had was like one of the greatest women's matches ever.
exactly. I would have. I think this is probably gonna happen. This is most definitely gonna happen at WrestleMania. Drew versus Jacob in a no disqualification,
Okay, okay. I have that
and
as well.
then
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I would have Randy Orton versus Nick Aldis, kind of playing off of like the general manager who kind of gets way too involved, and I would feel like Randy Orton would challenge him to a match at WrestleMania, something that we've thought we were gonna see from prior years. I would have obviously Brock versus Oba. And then I would have for the world title Punk versus Braun Breaker versus Seth Rollins.
Ooh, okay. Okay. Well, let's
Yeah.
see. My night two, I already said the WWE Women's title. So for my night two, I have Stephanie Vaquer versus Liv Morgan versus Raquel Rodriguez for
Oh,
the
okay.
Women's World title.
Okay. Okay.
And then I have Penta versus Ray Phoenix versus Javon Evans versus Rusev versus Sheamus versus Dragon Lee for the IC title.
Jeez. A lot of multi-mens in yours.
Hey, it's gonna be a banger.
It's gonna be a banger. Yep.
Jacob Fatu versus Drew McIntyre in a last man standing match.
There you go.
Randy Orton versus Sami Zayn versus Aleister Black.
Okay. Okay.
Even based off because they were teasing Randy and Aleister, and then Aleister and Sami, with
Mm-hmm.
Sami turning heel after the match.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then AJ Lee versus Becky Lynch versus Maxine Dupree versus Natty for the women's IC title.
Gosh. Yeah.
Fraxium versus MFTs versus M versus the Motion Machine Guns versus Truth and Priest, the War Raiders, and White Six. The six tag ladder match. LA Knight versus Braun Breaker in a street fight. And then El Grande Americano versus OG Grande Americano in a mask versus mask, with
Mm-hmm.
El Grande Americano winning and Chad Gable coming back.
Okay. Yeah.
And then my main event, Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship in a no holds barred match.
There you go. There you go. Playing off the Shield
Yeah.
days.
Yeah. And